Okay, so I'm going to talk candidly to you guys about my life for the last, I would say, 30 something years, 25 to 30 something years. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be an incredible situation. I'm not looking for sympathy or empathy, but it's going to be eye-opening, and I just hope people, especially young adults, young kids, will get something from it. I'm Carlos. I was born in Flint, Michigan. Was born mother and father. I have 7 siblings, so it's 8 of us, and we grew up like lower middle class family. My mother had a 3rd grade education. My father had a GED, or he graduated from high school. And my family, they tried their very best with doing parenting with what they knew how to do. Which wasn't a lot, which wasn't much, but you try to meet people where they are. And so when I was younger, I didn't want to meet them nowhere. But when I got older, I began to understand the strife that they had lived and where they've come from in their family. So I had a little bit of grace. I always gravitated toward my younger siblings, the younger 3 girls. I felt emotionally connected to them. I felt like we shared a lot of things in common interests. Just someone who was, what it was they were very sensitive to who they were in their emotions, and I was always that person that was sensitive to who I was, my emotions, where I felt and what I thought about people, things, circumstances. I just felt it. As you get older, it becomes more of a pro when you begin to understand that your feelings is what dictates everything in your life, and it's better to have an understanding of who you are as a person internally, so that you can be able to decipher through life and say no to this, yes to that, and be able to hone in on what it is you actually like to do or would not do in life. As it pertains to people, circumstances, events, it doesn't matter. So I gravitated to my sisters a lot more than I gravitated to my brothers. I played with them more than I played with my brothers, and my family looked at that as, okay, something's wrong with him. I heard the whispers and I heard the things going on in my family a lot. A lot of families think that they could just say things and kids won't understand. We pick up things, kids pick up things, and we pick up everything. I was picking up everything. And so I had aunts, and I won't name them, but I had aunts who would say, something's different about him. And I had one aunt who would always say this. I don't know why she would say this. She would always say, Carlos is sneaky. And I didn't even know what that meant. Now look, I'm a 6-year-old kid listening to this, thinking in my mind, what does that mean? My parents knew I was different. My brothers treated me differently. My sisters treated me differently. My relatives, aunts, uncles, and it sucked. And you guys know when you have a difference in who you are as a person, your personality or whatever, that people tend to look at you differently and treat you differently. Sometimes it sucks, and sometimes you have to use that. You have to use it as a catalyst to move forward in life. This is how I knew that something was terribly off with my family, and something was terribly off with who I was as a person, individual in this world. My mom and my dad hired a babysitter for the kids. Now my mom and dad, they were heavy into church, and so they would go to church, and sometimes they go to church without us. I had an older brother who would watch us. So remember, it's 8 kids, mom, dad going to church, and there would always be this particular babysitter. She was a tall lady, dark skin, long black hair. My parents would pay her to babysit us, and I would always think, like, why would she babysit? I have a brother who's older. Now remember, I was having these thoughts when I was like, this was like when I was like 6 or 7. I was having these thoughts, like, I don't know why I was just having these thoughts of, why was she babysitting when we had brothers and I have a sister, and we're just kind of a bigger family. So usually when you, in the 80s, when you had a bigger family, the kids would babysit each other. That's just how it was. No one had money to pay. But for some reason, us being a lower class, almost in poverty, family, and we had a babysitter. She would, I hated when she came over. Like, it was this eerie feeling that I would get every time she would come over. She wouldn't speak to me, she wouldn't look at me, but she would play with all the other kids. It was just this distinction she had, this wall she put up between myself and her. And as a kid, I always knew this. I promise you I did. I was like, why won't she, play with me or talk to me? And one day, she ended up having all my other siblings go to another room, and she brought me into that room. And I was just like, okay. She just stood there and she just looked at me. And then she grabbed my hand and she put it on her private area. And I remember I'm being 6. I immediately jerked, what is this? I didn't know what this was. And she forcefully put it back there. I just didn't know what was happening. You know how when something happened to you so quickly and so unannounced, you don't know what to do, what to say. I remember her bringing all of the siblings downstairs, because it was like, where's Carlos? We all were a family, we played together. So they would always keep coming in. She's like, no, let's go downstairs. So we went downstairs, and she made I remember watching on that box television that we had on the floor in our living room, Baltimore Street. And I remember her having them all of my siblings, she had them all sit in front of the TV. And she had me in the back where she was laying on the couch. And she, of course, forced my hand into her area, into her private area. And that happened 5 to 6 times. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why is this happening? That's number one. I'm thinking, why would someone do this to a kid? Now remember, I'm just going on mere feelings and how I felt at that time. And like I said, I was very in tune with who I was and my feelings. So I didn't say anything. Of course, you can't tell mom, dad, because they got problems of their own. Trust me, you're gonna figure that out soon. That feeling, that touch, it was haunting for my adolescence, all the way into college. It just, I couldn't get away from what that felt like. Cut to maybe a year later, I saw my mom, dad talking to the lady on the porch and conversing with her about when she'll be back or whatever. So pretty much my mom and dad paid the lady to do that to me. And because they thought I would probably be gay, because I was I wasn't flamboyant, but I was just expressive. I was an expressive kid. I was just out there, doing my thing, trying to be as harmonious and trying to be as inclusive to people as I could at that age. And I didn't gravitate to sports like my brothers did. So I knew that was the case. I felt it, I saw it. It was unfortunate, but that was where the journey started, on me closing in on who I was, not wanting to be me, not wanting to be around people, not wanting to be alone with women. And that's what parents did back in the 80s when they felt like maybe their child may have some tendencies that may be that of, gay or whatever. Solicit someone from the neighborhood to, let me make him a man. Let me get him out of that phase. Let me put some on him so he can kind of convert, whatever, to the situation where he feels more into his manly body. But that pushed me away. It made me go in the opposite direction quicker. It's the 80s. Parents did what they needed to do at that time. And I don't blame them. I had these thoughts for years, and I didn't honestly forgive my parents for that until maybe 6 or 7 years ago, because it always plagued my mind. I always thought about it, like, what kind of parents would purposely have their kid sexually abused so that the kid could seemingly convert to whatever their gender is in that moment, wanting to be more sexually attracted to a particular gender. Definitely want to tell you about this other time that it happened with a family friend. And